Welcome to our session on JBoss BPM Suite and BRMS. My name is Phil Simpson. I'm the Product Marketing Manager at Red Hat for our business process management and business rules products. Before I get started, I wonder if I could just ask for a quick show of hands. How many folks here are familiar with BPM or business rules technology? Oh, quite a few. Yeah, a little under half maybe. That's good. So what I'd like to do, I'm going to spend just a few minutes to kind of introduce the concepts behind these technologies, behind business rules and business process management. Then I'm going to hand over to Prakash. Prakash Aradhya here is our product manager, and he's going to take us through the product and the roadmap and what our plans are for the future of these products. Okay? All right, so to get started, an observation. Every organization makes operational decisions, okay? And what do I mean by that? What's an operational decision? So an operational decision is a decision that you take in the normal course of your business. So how much is this vacation, what's the price for this vacation? Or is this insurance application fraudulent? Or does this new bank account application comply with money laundering regulations? These are things that we have to do every day during the normal course of our business. I want to distinguish that from what we might call a strategic decision, right? Strategic decisions are, should we open an office in China? Should we deploy open source software? These are things that are kind of outside the scope of a business rules technology. Business rules are all about managing and automating operational decisions, things we do every day. Another feature of operational decisions is that they are always guided by business rules. So most organizations have big policy books, policy manuals, rule books that guide how we make those operational decisions. If you ever want to know how to determine the price for a vacation, then you probably, your organization, if you're a travel agency, you may have a rule book that you look all that up in and you figure out the rules might look something like this, and there are special exceptions. If the vacation is a certain length, it's a certain price or a certain discount and so on. So operational decisions are made every day and they're always guided by rules. And of course, there are issues with those, with rules, right? Rules are very difficult things. They're often embedded in applications. Quite often we automate our decisions by writing software, and we embed the rules in the code of the application. And in many organizations, rules are in people's heads. They're not even written down anywhere. We're just relying on the more experienced experts within our business to guide those decisions. And that leads to three primary concerns, three primary issues, right? What happens when policies change, when the rules change? How do we effect that change in the rules? If they're embedded in applications, we've got to wait weeks for IT to recode that application and move it out. How do we even know what the rules are? They're not in any central location where we can just go look it up. They may be hidden, they may be written in Java or COBOL, and our business folks can't read Java or COBOL, so we have difficulty understanding what the rules are in the first place. And then how do we know we make consistent decisions? How do we know that we apply those rules consistently? We have an example. One of our customers is a government agency that handles benefit claims, and what they told us was their claimants would call into a call center in order to lodge a claim and get a decision on how much the claim would be worth. And what was happening was that the claimants were realizing that if they didn't like the answer, they could just hang up the phone, call back 5 minutes later, speak to somebody else, and get a different decision. So consistent decision making is very important, but especially in regulated organizations. So we like to think of three primary issues, three primary value propositions that business rules management brings to the table, right? And we have them up here: visibility, agility, and consistency. Visibility, we need to be able to see what the rules are. The business needs to be able to see what the rules are. Agility, we need to be able to change them at any time, often within minutes, in order to take account of a new regulation or because our markets have changed, our customer needs have changed. And consistency, we need to be able to execute consistently on those rules every single time. So the technology that's evolved over the last 15, 20 years now to kind of address these issues is business rules management technology. And fundamentally what it says is extract all of the rules out of your organization and put them in a rule repository. Centralize all of those rules, take them out of your applications, take them out of people's heads, and have a separate location where you keep track of all the rules. and keep track of them in a way that a business user can understand. So in other words, you're not writing them in Java or COBOL, we're going to write them in English, or we're going to use spreadsheets. We're going to use metaphors that make sense to the business, so that business users can be ultimately responsible for creating and maintaining those rules. And then secondly, a BRMS then acts, if you like, as a centralized decision service within an organization. So whenever an application needs a business decision, it's going to provide the facts, the data to the BRMS, and the BRMS is going to make a decision. So in this example, booking application is going to provide the details of a booking request. When it needs a price, it's going to ask the BRMS, give me the price for this vacation. The BRMS is going to look up the appropriate rules, execute the rules against that data, and come back with a price. So we're centralizing our decision-making within the organization. And we're attacking these three problems, right? Visibility, number one, now we can see where the rules are. They're all in the repository. We can display them in ways that make sense to the business. Agility, we can change the rules. We don't have to change the application. It's much faster to go in and change the rules. When we want to bring out a new promotion, for example, we just create the rules for those, put them in the repository, and now the BRMS will make a different decision with the same data. And then consistency, we know that we're always going to make consistent decisions based on those rules. We're not relying on people's interpretation of the rules. So at Red Hat, our product in this space is called JBoss BRMS, our Business Rules Management System. Out of the box, it really has these four components, and these are pretty much standard if you look at BRMS technology across the board. Starting with a repository, we provide a repository for the rules. It provides not just a place to store the rules, but also governance over those rules. So it controls who can change what when, keeps track of who's changing what rules, provides version management, and so forth. It has a number of standard APIs that allow applications to manipulate the content of the repository. And out of the box, we provide two applications. We provide a web-based set of tools for business users. So this tool is designed for folks that are not necessarily IT developers, but just want to be able to manipulate the rules. So business experts would use that to go in, create rules, modify rules, and so on. And then we provide plugins for Eclipse for the developers. So developers can also access the same repository using tools that they might be familiar with, particularly if they're Java developers, it plugs into JBoss Developer Studio as well. And then on the right side of this picture, we got the runtime, right? So the runtime is the decision service. It takes facts from client applications and makes decisions on behalf of those applications. So it's going to look up the relevant rules and come up with a price or determine whether the bank account application is compliant with regulations and so forth. So that's a very quick overview of business rules. Now there's one other observation that's worth making. It's that those operational decisions always occur within the context of a business process. So a business process meaning the series of steps that you're going through in an organization to drive work to completion. So if you're pricing a vacation as part of a booking, you're actually conducting a booking process. You're just one step in that process. If you're trying to determine whether an insurance claim is fraudulent or not, that's because you're processing that claim. You're going through that series of steps for that claim. So a business process, typically represented like this, is a flowchart, a series of steps. You have work moving through an organization, and then decision points within that process. Most likely you're using business rules to make those decisions. So that kind of introduces this next technology, business process management. Business process management is all about automating those steps in the process so that we can address essentially the same three sets of problems but applied at the process level. So if you think about it, processes are like rules in the sense that we still have these three problems, right? How do we know where the work is within an organization? We still have a visibility problem around business processes. What do we do when we need to change the process? Again, business processes are typically either in people's heads or they're encoded in applications. It can take a long time. And then how do we know that we execute the process consistently given the same information every time? So business process management technology is all about addressing, again, exactly the same three problems, but now applied at this kind of more global level, the entire end-to-end process. A BPM system, again, not new technology. We've been using BPM at least 20 years now, but the fundamental idea is, again, opening it up to business experts, having a business user define the process. So just like they can define the rules that control the decisions, you can also have them write these flowcharts that describe the steps in the process, how you process an insurance claim, how you open a new bank account. And there's now a standard for the way that that's represented that we support. BPMN, BPMN2 is the very widely used modeling notation that most folks in the space support, so we do that. And again, the idea is to have a repository where you keep these models that describe all the different processes within the organization. And then a business process management system will drive work through the organization according to the steps in the models that are defined in the repository. So a BPMS is responsible for taking that insurance claim, moving it through the various steps, and also distributing work out to different parts of the organization. So some of those steps might be manual steps where an adjudicator needs to look at the claim, for example, and the BPMS will be responsible for routing the right claims to the right adjudicators, making sure that they're responding in an appropriate amount of time, and so on. And many of the steps may be automated, where we're just simply interacting with a back-end system or service, a legacy system, maybe a mainframe. We have to log all this stuff on a system of record, for example. So BPMS is the technology that allows us to automate business processes. And because many of those processes contain those operational decisions, it makes a lot of sense that you would include a rule engine in a BPM system. So that's exactly what we've done. This is JBoss BPM suite, and you can see that the picture looks very similar to the BRMS. It's actually an enhancement or additional technology included in the same basic architecture. So now our repository allows us to contain both rules and business process models. Our tools on the left kind of extend the capabilities to include business process modeling as well as business rules. So now we can create those flowcharts. The business users can create those, or the developers through the Eclipse plugins. And then our engine, our runtime engine, is extended so that now, in addition to business rules, we have the business process engine that drives work through the organization. Many BPM and rules technologies are separated, so I think something that's fairly unique about JBoss BPM suite is that these two are integrated together. It's very easy to switch between rules and process, so at any point in your process it's very easy to create a set of rules that describe how we're going to make a decision at that point. And on the right of this picture, the runtime system is integrating with different aspects of your organization. So it's routing work to people, it's integrating with legacy systems. It may do that directly through web services, for example. It may be using an integration layer like JBoss Fuse to actually handle the communication with the legacy system. And nowadays, increasingly, we see a lot of interaction with the cloud. So many of these services that the process is invoking might be in the cloud. Maybe you're doing a credit check or something through a cloud-based organization. So all of that capability is built into the product. So that's my introduction of business rules and BPM. What I'd like to do is hand over to Prakash here. Prakash, as I mentioned, Prakash is our product manager. He's going to talk about these products in more detail and the roadmap and our plans for the future. Thank you.